2020+5. You've clearly set the agenda for the next 4 years as IOC president. President Bach, you've talked about your successor or mentioned the idea of a successor a few times during the past few days here. Across your tenure as an IOC member, across my time covering the IOC, I have to say I just haven't heard the kind of diversity of voices and personalities that we've heard from, especially today in talking about Olympic Agenda 2020+5. Women, people from all parts of the globe, a different IOC membership than you dealt with when you joined 30 years ago. When you think in terms of a successor to your job, do you think we've heard from one of your successors today? And how do you feel the IOC is configured right now to elect what kind of person would be your successor? And is it time for a woman to
The answer to the first question, I think, is easy. I guess yes, we have heard from my successor today, whoever it is, because we have seen, and this is also a result of Olympic Agenda 2020, how much there, with a new approach to elect members, the membership has changed, and that we have a very diverse group in very different meanings of the word diverse. You know, we have much better female representation. We have a better distribution among the continents, and we have many members with a great experience from many different areas, you know, whether it's the politics, whether it's finance, whether it's sustainability, and all, you know, with a great passion for sport. And this, I think, is a very interesting field. They're lining up for my succession. So I enjoyed it very much today to see this engagement and to see that this great potential and this many capabilities we have, and the great basis of human resources. So this really made me happy.
Thank you, Ed.
And how about a woman?
Yeah. You know, we're gender equality. There, of course, a woman will have an opportunity the same as a man. You know, it's gender equality, and I guess there will be then a fair election, and then we see whoever will be elected.
Thank you, Ed. Let's move now to Marc von Touillac from L'Équipe. Marc, your question, please.
Good evening, Mr. President. I can't see very much, but doesn't matter. Okay, there we go. There's one thing I don't understand very well. Perhaps I'm of too old a generation. But you were mentioning recommendation of virtual physical sports. If you take rowing, does that mean there won't be any fantastic rowing events on lakes or as in Rio, but people may be on an ergometer, on an indoor rowing machine at the Olympics? Answer, no, no. Obviously, this is a question for my successor. We're not talking about Paris. This is probably more a question for Los Angeles. But as far as I'm concerned, it would be in addition to, it would be additional, not in place of. It would not replace sports as we know it. But since you're mentioning Paris, quickly, a second question, if I may. Could you say more about the two events which are still in abeyance in track and field and in yachting? Answer. No, this still has to be discussed. I think it may be coming up in April or in May. So it's still being discussed. So no news, sorry. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mark, we promise you'll be the first to know. Let's go now to...
he may know before us.
Indeed. Let's go now to Liam Morgan from Inside the Games. Liam, your question, please, to the President.
Good afternoon. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Thanks for taking the time, as always, Mr. President. I know you've had a very busy day today. A question on Tokyo 2020, if I may. You may have seen or been aware that a Belgian athlete said she was essentially prevented from competing at the European Indoor Athletics Championships in Poland that have just finished recently after she recorded a false positive for COVID-19. I was just wondering what specific measures will be in place to ensure this doesn't affect athletes at Tokyo 2020, and can you give them some assurances that they won't be barred from competing if they record a false positive for COVID? Thank you.
I'm sure that our task forces, will undertake every effort to avoid such a case. There are different opportunities there. In particular, this rapid testing, I think, is offering a lot of opportunities, so that in case of any doubt, you could do a second test. Then there are many opportunities, but this is in the hand of the experts. I'm not the medical expert there, but I have full confidence there in the two task forces, and who are then also advised by the World Health Organization and by other experts, that they will address this issue, and that they will learn from this incident there at the European Athletics Championships.
Thank you very much. Let's move to Kyoto. Masashi Inoue. Masashi, your question, please.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, President. I have a question on Tokyo Games. Today you mentioned that you have received many positive reactions from NOCs with regard to the vaccination support from Chinese Olympic Committee. And I hope those vaccines will help the safe and secure Tokyo Games, also Beijing Games. But on the other hand, there's a concern in host country Japan that many of people are likely to be vaccinated before the games, Tokyo Games. So what would you, I think Japan would be the rare NOC or country whom athletes are heading to the games without vaccination at the moment. So what would you advise to Japanese government or Japanese Olympic Committee to solve this situation? And what would you advise to the Japanese athletes who are now worried about the coming situation and for the vaccination policy of Japan? Thank you.
Now, we have always established the principle that we will follow the national vaccination guidelines and regulations. So this is in the hands of each National Olympic Committee, of each government in their country to establish these guidelines. Therefore, we have encouraged all the NOCs to address their governments and to come to an understanding of what these regulations are, and whatever they are. We are accepting this because we also have made it clear from the very beginning that we would not impose any obligation for a vaccination. And we have also from the very beginning stated that we will work with the NOCs to get as many as possible of the participants being vaccinated, but always within the relevant national guidelines.
Thank you very much, Masashi. Let's go now to Germany, to ARD. Holger Kuhner. Holger.
Hello from Germany. The question is about spectators or not during Tokyo. Mr. Bach, Mrs. Hashimoto wants an early decision about having spectators from wherever, from Japan, from foreign countries. Mrs. Lindbergh said the IOC should wait. What is your opinion or your plan? When should the decision be done, and who would pay for the already sold tickets? Thank you.
No, thank you. No, this is not a question now of early or late. This is the question when we need there to advise the foreign spectators or potential foreign spectators about the possibility, because this is not a decision which you can implement from one day to another. There is a lot to follow up with regard to the organization of the games, with regard to ticketing, the international distribution, and so on and so on. This is extremely complex. Any ticketing program is complex, but to have a ticketing for an Olympic Games 5 months or 6 months, no, 4 months, 4 months before is really extremely complex. So this is for all these reasons. This is why we said from the very beginning this will be the decision of our Japanese partners and friends, and we will respect and accept this decision. And this also concerns the timing of the decision, because only they can know what it means for the health regulations in their country, what it means for the organizing committee, and what it means for the overall situation in Japan. So this is why I said there in my opening speech here already that we are standing at the side of Japan there without any reservation. And with regard to the potential consequences, I think there we have also heard that the organizing committee that they will discuss, and they still need to discuss this, and then will come up with an appropriate solution at the appropriate time.
Thank you very much. Let's go to Associated Press AP and Graham Dunbar. Graham, your question, please.
Right, I hope you can hear me now. Thank you very much. A question on human rights in China. There was a long discussion yesterday about Beijing 2022. The human rights framework was discussed today in the section on corporate citizenship. Meanwhile, the United Nations in Geneva today, the United States and Britain both mentioned the issues over the Uyghurs and Tibet in very strong language, including using the word genocide. I mean, this is going to be part of public discourse for the next year. Is there any point at which you feel like you will have to address it directly, given that it's a subject that's not been discussed at all within the session? But can you see a point at which you will just need to address it, given that there are some very determined activists who want to keep this as part of the discussion for the next 11 months?
No, we are addressing it within our remits, and this was also part of the discussion there today, that within our remits, our responsibility, there all these questions are being addressed. There are a number of these questions are a part of the host city contract. And this is our responsibility, and this responsibility we are taking very, very seriously. This leads directly to the question which is behind there of boycott discussion. And there we can only, repeat once again and give advice to learn from history. Boycott of the Olympic Games has never achieved anything. Be mindful of the boycott in Moscow, 1980, which was because of the intervention of the Soviet army in Afghanistan. The Soviet army withdrew from Afghanistan in 1989, 9 years after this boycott. So it really served nothing but punishing the own athletes, and then led even to the counter boycott in Los Angeles. And it also has no logic, why would you punish the athletes from your own country if you have a dispute with the government from another country? This just makes no real sense, and the athletes would be the ones who are suffering. And furthermore, with the overall situation, we have seen the most recent resolution of the United Nations, where the United Nations, by consensus, by all 193 member states, are acknowledging the Olympic Charter. And one of the key principles enshrined in the Olympic Charter is the political neutrality of the IOC, which with this has implicitly be acknowledged there. And at the same time, this resolution is welcoming with appreciation the upcoming Olympic Games from Tokyo over Beijing up to Los Angeles in 2028.
Thank you very much, Graham. Let's go now to Japan and Wakako. Wakako Yuki, are you there?
Thank you, President. From 3 o'clock in the morning, Tokyo. Allow me
Poor
two
one.
questions. Yes. I followed closely the 3 days, intriguing, but it was quite physically tiresome for the first time. Now, allow me, you are talking about deepening political divisions, which even use vaccine distribution as a tool. Was your move yesterday announcing Chinese offer on vaccine a strategy to counter such move and create a bridge beyond politics? And if I may, another, today you have laid a platform, roadmap for the future. Can you share with us in essence, where would you like to take the Olympic movement in this turbulent time? You seem to talk to founder Pierre de Coubertin a lot. How are you getting help from him in forming your vision?
No, thank you very much. With regard to the first question, we were mentioning the politicization of all areas of our society. And this, for some, also affects a health issue and vaccination issues. But this is about the safety and the health of people. And there, it should not play any role where a vaccine is being manufactured or invented. The only question there which counts is it effective? And does it not have any side effects which could be harmful to the people? And then, you know, what we're all requested to, also in this respect, again, is solidarity. And this is why we have joined this urgent call of the World Health Organization to look for equal distribution of vaccines across the globe, and not keeping vaccination reserved, at least for a certain period of time, for some privileged countries and people.
Okay.
Sorry,
sorry, on
Anyone
the
wanted
second
to say
part of the
something?
question, if I may.
Let's move on to.
She wanted.
Well, Kako, you still there? Would you like to say something more?
Allow me for the second part of my question, the vision and roadmap for the future.
No, I think you saw it. You saw it today. You know, to make the Olympic movement fit for the new post-coronavirus world, addressing these 5 major issues or trends on which I have elaborated here today a little bit. And Pierre de Coubertin is always an inspiration. This man was such a visionary. It's really hard to imagine, what depth of thinking and what visionary thinking he had already in his time, and therefore, for me, he is always an inspiration, and I'm always happy to see him happily sitting under his tree, which we planted for him in the garden here. And this morning before the session, I visited him again, and he was still smiling. So obviously he was happy. Now it's too dark to visit him again and to ask him whether he's happy with the Olympic Agenda 2020 +5.
You can pop along in a minute, President, with the torch. We got time for 2 more questions, so I'm going to go to Alex Capstick from the BBC, and then we'll go to Clara Sports. So Alex Capstick, your question, please.
Hi, if I can, 2 questions, please. First of all, what message would you send to families of Olympic athletes hoping to compete in Tokyo? Their families, of course, would have wanted to watch their loved ones in action. It now looks, well, there's a very real prospect that they won't be able to do that because they'll be barred from going. What would you say to them? And also, just a quick follow-up on the question of human rights, which, of course, there was a recommendation today that the IOC wants to strengthen its approach regarding human rights. How would you respond to claims by activists, the Uyghurs, Hong Kongers, Tibetans, who claim that the IOC has effectively dismissed their concerns because you are politically neutral?
With regard to the first question, let's wait for the decision. But we have said from the very beginning, I think since April last year, that this pandemic will require sacrifices from all of us. And the families of athletes already had to bring such sacrifices with all the recent events, because most of them happened without spectators, so also without their families and friends there. This is one of the topics where I can feel very well with the athletes, with their families, with their friends, but where we have to put safety first if it's coming to this, in the interest of the athletes themselves and of the families. So let's see what the Japanese government and the organizing committee will decide in this respect. But again, it's a pandemic, and we have to put safety first. And for this, we may have to sacrifice, many things we would like to do. I would very much like to hug. Would very much like to have an IOC session in person. I would very much have liked to visit sports events in the recent months. So it's a pity, but I can only ask for understanding if it should happen. And with regard to the human rights issues, again, I think this has been very clear today. That within the remit of the IOC, we are taking this very seriously. This means with everything what is related to the Olympic Games, their human rights and labor rights and others are and or will be part of the host city contract on this. We are working, very closely with the organizing committee. There we are also monitoring. This includes, for instance, supply chains or labor rights and their freedom of press and many other issues. This is our responsibility. And again, this responsibility has been acknowledged there by the United Nations, by the international community, and this we are taking very, very seriously. We are not a super world government, where the IOC could solve or even address issues for which not a UN Security Council, no G7, no G20 has a solution. So this is in the remits of politics. We have to fulfill our and to live up to our responsibilities within our area of responsibilities, and the governments have to live up to their responsibilities in their remits.
Thank you, President. Thank you, Alex. Let's go. Last question to Alfredo Busch from Claro Sports. Alfredo, your question, please.
Thank you, Mark. How are you? Thank you, sir. So a couple of questions, if you allow me. First of all, I'm talking about the vaccination. Do you have any concern about the countries vaccinating their athletes before the general population? Because, for example, in Mexico, there's talk about all the athletes could be vaccinated before the general population. And the second one, if you allowed me, is there any talks about the volunteers? Do you know what's going to happen with all the volunteers that have that are from abroad and not from Japan? Is there any chance that they also are not participating during the games?
With regard to the first question, we have said from the very beginning, and we are sticking to this principle that we are following, and also the athletes and the National Olympic Committees should follow the national regulations on vaccination. This is a clear government responsibility, and in this we will not interfere. This is not our within our expertise or our remits. Each government has to decide they're following the circumstances in their respective country. With regard to the second question, that we have to wait for the Japanese side what they will decide there in this respect, because whether it's a volunteer or whether it's a spectator, at the end it's coming back to the question of safety.
Thank you very much, Alfredo, and thank you to everyone. We tried to get round as many questions as we could. We went round the world and had a range of questions, so thank you very much. Like you, we have, I'm afraid, some time constraints, so many thanks indeed. If you have any further questions, of course, we'd be happy to deal with them. The press office would be happy to deal with them. So thank you very much, and thank you, President.
Thank you very much, and have a good day, good evening, good night, good morning, wherever you are, and thank you very much for your interest.